Hi everybody, this is the other half of my presentation and I'm working by myself, so hopefully this goes well. I wanted to take a moment and show you some different styles of canjo. This one you can see I did a two-tone stain, and that was something I had mentioned during the PowerPoint portion, was you might want to decide whether you're going to stain before or after fretting. And I also have a lot of tools I would like to show you. So I'll start with the fret saw, and this is the miter box. Again, you can make this yourself. The fret saw is super important though, because the kerf that you make, the fret to have it a compression fitting has to be the correct saw. There's a few different types of frets. Sometimes they come slightly rounded and that just makes them easier to hammer in, or they can come straight. This one is also gold versus silver for your color schemes. This is a template that you can buy on CB Giddy, and if you're making a lot of these, this might be worth having. So you put this on and then you can mark your frets instead of having to measure everything out. These were the fret cutters, so you can see they're basically, a pair of nippers, but you can use diagonal cutters, all sorts of other things. And again, you could cut the frets before you install them, or install them and then cut them as you're installing them. It just depends. This is a fret hammer, so you can see it's got the softer head to it, so you don't damage the frets. This is a fret file. Again, you could probably make one of these yourself, but this, once you've installed, you can run this along the edge and it will angle your frets, so it helps in the filing process. All of this is optional and you might be able to use other items. This is a fancier file. This is for fine tuning. I don't know if you can see it, but two of the sides are not knurled and the other two sides are. So when you're running this on the wood, the smooth side will not gouge the wood. This was the winder. So this goes on to the machine head and you can turn it, and that makes it easier to do your tunings. There's all sorts of different machine heads for different color schemes. This one is a skull, which is pretty cool. Kids seem to love it. You just have plain black ones. You also have, you can get different corner fittings just to give it a different look if you're doing cigar box guitars. You also probably want to have an assortment of different sizes and types and colors of screw. This is the tuner that I had mentioned. This clips onto the end, and when you do that, this will now not be affected by any ambient noise, so because it reads the vibrations from the neck. I also like to use stamps sometimes for numbering. So if you look on the side of the canjo, you could just use a Sharpie, but sometimes it's nice to actually hammer that in, and then you can fill in the indent as well. These are some basic, strings that you would order. I will show you some other instruments as well. This is another canjo. This one's electric, and also you'll notice the insert here compared to this one. So this is a larger can. So if you were to attach the neck to the outside of the can, then it could make it a little bit more uncomfortable when you play it. I'll show you the electric part in a moment. if you are going to make it electric, this is a Piezo Pickup. It's basically a ceramic disc, and then there's some soldering. So if you're doing a high school level, you know, if you want to get into some circuitry, also you would need the jack. So these get soldered on, and that's where you would plug in for the amp. You can also have what's called a rod pickup, but this would go in the bridge. And then, so this is a Cigar Box Ukulele. So you can see, use some of the corners on this, and I went with some brass rod for the fret markers, so you can get as creative as you want. And this one is also electric, so you can see the jack right there. This is a 3-string cigar box guitar, and again I have the jack to make it electric. The neck did some two-tone, little bloodwood and zebra wood. There's another 3-string. This is fretless, so this would need to be played with a slide. And the fret holes, I went with musical notes. You can really make the fret holes, or sorry, the sound holes, anything you want. You can buy templates, or you can draw freehand, you know, different size templates. So you can really, whatever you can imagine, you can do. Here's another much smaller. This is a can, so this is, you know, technically a Canjo. It's also electric. As I had mentioned before, if you don't find interesting, fun cans, you can always just take a can and spray paint it, or have the kids paint whatever designs on it they want. This is called a travel ukulele. It's a little different design. This one has the rod pickup in the bridge, and it's super quiet. So I don't know if you can hear that too well on the recording, but that's why I made this electric. Also, I tell people to hold on to their old jeans, and you can cut the waistband out and make that into, you know, a strap or a sling to play, you know, and you know, it's just another recycle, upcycle kind of a thing. I also wanted to show you that you can make your own amplifier. So this is basically just a kit that you would buy, and you can solder it together. It runs off of a 9-volt battery, and it's pretty loud. So if I plug both ends in, so you can hear this without the amp. And then if I turn the amp on, so you do get quite a bit of extra sound that way. This is technically a diddly bow, which is a little different. So I'm using a cigar box. It's also not fretted, so this would be another instrument that you play with a slide. I wanted to show you, this is an electric one, so it has the Piezo Pickup, and usually just hot glue. You can hot glue those down. You probably also want to hot glue the wires in place so that they don't move around and make noise while you're playing. Also, that will help keep them from breaking. And a slide can be anything metal or glass. I've seen people use sockets from like a socket set, or a piece of glass, you know. And, you know, so you can play around with that and get a lot of different sounds and noises. Also, a very cool thing I have found to do with the old style telephones is you can take them apart, wire in a jack, and make it into an actual microphone. I have to hold this away from the speaker or you'll get feedback. Hello, test, 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 test. So I'm not sure if that's coming through too loudly with this amp. If I use a different amp, you can really crank it up and it works pretty well. And it gives you that old radio sound, which is a pretty interesting thing. Then I have a lot of different books. So these are Canjo songbooks, and they're a lot of fun. This is the Christmas one. So you flip through and there's tons of songs. These are different Canjo songs as well. This is a gospel Canjo song book, and then I have a couple of books about making these instruments, and you can get into this as far as you want. I even made an electric washboard, so you know, you got your strap so that hangs over your neck, and then you can play it. And of course it's electric. That comes through loud and clear. And that's the fun part. You can actually make anything, almost anything that you want, electric. And that's pretty much all that I have at the moment. And so hopefully you enjoyed the demonstration and the PowerPoint and all of the gizmos and gadgets that go along with it. And the most important thing with this is to just have fun, and you can get into it as far as you want and use as many fancy tools or not as fancy tools as you need in order to get the projects done. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it.